Hey guys, so today we're gonna learn the difference between esta, esta, and está. So we're gonna go over what the difference is between each of these three different forms of esta and how you can use them in a sentence, as well as what the difference is between them grammatically and which of them are used most commonly still today. Okay, so we're gonna first start with esta. And this is the one that you have probably heard and seen in your Spanish classes if you're taking any. And it is the third person singular form of the verb estar. So está with an accent on the A, that is probably the most common one that you've seen. And this word we use as a verb in a sentence. So let's look at a couple sentences with está. A lo mejor está loco. Maybe he is crazy. A lo mejor está loco. And one more, we're just gonna do 2 sentence examples with these because our main focus is going to be on the grammar and the meaning of the words. Our second example is todo esto está muy bien. Everything is okay, or everything is good. Todo esto está bien. So now that we've covered the verb está, we're gonna look at the other 2 forms of esta. We're gonna look at them kind of simultaneously because you'll see why in the explanation why we're looking at them together. They do have different meanings, but over the last couple of years, la Real Academia Española has actually changed the rules of the grammar and the need for el acento diacrítico in the word esta. So we're gonna look at them individually and then also together. So the grammatical term that we use to describe words like esta and esta is demonstrative, and this just means that these are words that we use to refer to something specific, and the English equivalent of these words would be this and that. So don't worry too much about the grammar terms, just try to understand when you would use each of these terms and kind of the difference in meaning as it relates to English and how it's used in Spanish. So let's look first at esta with no accent. This is a demonstrative adjective, and what this means is that it is a word like this or that, and it is modifying a noun like an adjective does. So we would use esta to refer to something like esta pluma. But if you wanted to refer to this just as this or that, then you wouldn't say esta, you would say esta instead with the accent on the e, because it is referring to the pen now as a pronoun, which brings us to esta, which is a demonstrative pronoun. So it's replacing the noun as pronouns do, and when we refer to something using our demonstrative pronoun esta, then we just use esta. So if you wanted to just say esta, then you would use the one with the accent on the e. And this is the equivalent of in English, like this one or that one or those ones, these ones. It's the equivalent of that. Or you also can just say this or that, and that can still be used as a demonstrative pronoun. Okay, confused yet? Don't worry. So we're gonna get into a little bit more of why you don't need to be too confused about this topic. It's cool if you can understand it and if you can know the difference between these if you just want to learn more about Spanish grammar. But since over the last couple of years, the Real Academia Española has changed the grammar rules on this topic, you no longer need to worry too much about when you should use an accent on the e or not, because it is no longer considered an essential acento diacrítico. So we're gonna get into exactly what that means. So the Real Academia Española, which if you are not familiar with what this is, it's basically an organization that is dedicated to preserving the Spanish language, and that dictates the rules and the grammar and any changes that happen in the language. So it's a good reference place if you need to clarify anything about the Spanish language. So the reason that the Real Academia Española has eliminated the need for the acento diacrítico between esa and esta is because it's not entirely necessary to understand the meaning of a sentence. And if you have more information on this topic, feel free to add it down below. This is my interpretation based on the research that I've done on this topic. So feel free to add on more to this. But they have basically decided that it is not necessary to distinguish between these using el acento diacrítico, which is the accent that distinguishes between two words. So when two words are different because of an accent, that is el acento diacrítico. So instead of distinguishing these two words with the accents, because they really are pretty close to meaning the same thing, which is why it's probably a little challenging to understand the difference between these two, even the way that I use them, like esta pluma or esta. So because of this, you no longer need to use the accent on the when you are writing like esta to refer to this pen. You will be grammatically correct if you just write esta with no accent. But you can also write it with the accent if you want to just practice your Spanish grammar. Just know that the most current rule is that you do not need to use the accent on the when we're referring to esta. So we're gonna look at a few sentence examples of esta and esta. So hopefully this will become a little more clear in how each of these are used, even though you can really use esta for either of them today. Alright, so first we're gonna look at esta. Esta era la verdad. This was the truth. Esta era la verdad. So in this example, we are using esta with the accent. It's referring to whatever it was that is the truth, referring to it as a pronoun. Esta dice que tiene él. So this says what he has. This is referring to, again, a pronoun is referring to the noun of what he has. Esta dice que tiene él. And now we're going to look at esta with no accent, so you'll see that this is used right before a noun. Quiere que vaya esta tarde. He wants to go this afternoon. Quiere que vaya esta tarde. Where esta is our demonstrative adjective, that is modifying the noun tarde. And our last example, esta llave es tuya. So esta is our demonstrative adjective that is modifying the noun llave. And so we do not need an accent because it's our demonstrative adjective. Alright, so just a quick recap of our three different forms of esta. We have esta, which is our verb in the third person singular form, our verb estar. And then we have our other two forms of esta. The one that you really need to know is esta with no accent. You should know this one and the verb esta. So really know the difference between these and really use esta when you want to use the verb, and then you use esta with no accent when you want to refer to something like this or that. And then we also have esta with the accent on the which is no longer really a present use of the word esta. You don't have to use an accent on that, but it's still good to know if you are reading something in Spanish that was written years ago, then you might see that word esta with the accent on the and you'll be able to understand what it means. Alright, I hope that you guys found this lesson useful. If you liked it, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I will see you guys back here next time. Ciao!